Hey, good afternoon to you. It's now 4:07 News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up today, Congressman Scott Perry from Pennsylvania will be here. The Trump campaign spending a lot of time in that state. Will they win the Keystone State? We'll talk to the congressman about that. And Michael Whatley, the chairman of the RNC, joins us at 5:30. You can talk to us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Let me take another phone call here. I've got Cindy in Bethesda calling in on line 2. Cindy, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello.
Hey, Vince. How are you today?
I'm doing so well, Cindy.
I caught a clip. Good. I caught a clip of your interview with Tucker on Twitter or X, and it was hysterical because you all were talking about the protesters outside of the DNC convention.
Yes.
And we were talking about the people that were masked. And Tucker said, "Do you still see people that are wearing masks outside?" And you kind of looked at him like, "Yeah, I live in D.C. Like, of course I still see people with masks."
Is
it? And I just totally cracked up.
It's amazing. Yeah, he long ago was able to escape the craziness of this world. And part of the reason was like Antifa attacked his house, which we talked a bit about. It was a couple years ago. They tried to smash their way into his home. They smashed the front door. His wife was home. She had to hide in the pantry of the home while she waited for help. And they'd spray painted the front of the driveway, and they were protesting outside of his home. It was awful, actually. And that was one of the things we talked about in like our almost 3-hour conversation. And but yeah, that was one of them. He didn't realize that people are still wearing masks. Cindy, do you see mask wearing outdoors when you're out and about?
Absolutely. They are still wearing them on the buses. They are wearing them on the metro. They are wearing them in the grocery stores. They are wearing them at work. I see them all the time. All the time.
And what does it tell you when you see somebody wearing a mask? What's the message that is disseminated to you?
Fear.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are afraid. They're still afraid. They think they're, going to be around people, so they need to mask up. They think it's maybe a protection thing. And there may be a group that are, virtue signaling. I'm not really sure. But honestly, I think a lot of people wear it out of fear. They're afraid of getting sick.
The left has very much made a lot of people neurotic and hurt them in really meaningful ways. That's true. I think there's a big category of people who fit exactly that. Cindy, thank you. I appreciate that. In fact, I'm going to jump off to Cindy's call here and play the audio of what Cindy's referencing. And I have some other clips for you from my conversation with Tucker. But what Cindy's talking about is mask wearing outdoors. Tucker was shocked to hear that it's happening in the nation's capital.
So someone just sent me video of the protesters outside the DNC.
Yeah.
So I guess almost by definition, even crazier than the people inside the DNC. And the first thing you notice is they're all wearing masks outside. And I don't want to be mean. Mental illness is real. They're obviously mentally ill.
Definitely.
But what's so interesting is I never see that in my life. Do you ever see anybody wearing masks outside?
Well, I live near Washington, so yes. I see
you actually do now?
Yeah, but so there are categories of people, I think, who are just neurotic and who've been misled, especially by the left, and they wear the mask still up until this very day.
Do you know how bad that is for your health?
It's awful. It's awful. It's also...
I'd rather smoke cigarettes any day.
I actually think the cost to socialization is even worse. It's like your health is awful, but like what does that say about you and how isolated you are from the rest of society?
Yes.
That can't be good for your head. And the truth is, I don't think it's... For like a lot of these people, I don't really think in the end it's really about the health. They maybe soothe themselves by saying that.
Right.
Fundamentally, it's a political gesture. Yeah, it is. It's a uniform. It's a uniform. So that was a kind of a fun one of many conversations we had yesterday. So one of the things I tried to do in talking with Tucker, because I always have questions for him too. Everybody wants to hear more about what he thinks on all of these issues. Early in the conversation, I did raise the fact that, we look at President Trump and say, okay, he had his first term, and there were all these forces that were working against him from within the government. So what about the second term? And Tucker was, he was curiously silent on the question. Take a listen. Stand by. If I can actually play the audio appropriately. Here's what it sounded like. So do you think Trump learned enough lessons from round one in order to do it differently in round two?
I can't answer that question.
You can't because you have no idea.
I don't want to.
You don't want to.
You hope so. I mean, I think like a lot of people, why am I talking? I'm here to interview you. But since you asked, I think like a lot of people, well, first of all, I really like Trump enormously as a person. B, I think that the alternative is so shocking that I've kind of put on pause all thoughts like the one you just raised.
Exactly.
Right. Because it's super clear what's going to happen if the Democratic Party holds power. It's not about Kamala Harris. She's not even, I don't think there's any evidence she's like an actual person.
No.
Right. So it's about the party. It's about the collective. It's about the people who really have wrecked the country continuing to loot it and to destroy the First and Second Amendments, the Bill of Rights, civil liberties in the United States for another 4 years, which will really be kind of the end. And then just a one-party state. That's what I foresee. And that's just so bad that I'm not spending a ton of time thinking about like the question that you just raised.
That's a reasonable, and so this is a reasonable way for Tucker to approach this, and I think that's right. I said during our conversation that one of the things that happened after Trump was shot in the head by the would-be assassin Thomas Crooks was my views on Trump became more simple in the fact that I just flatly like this guy. I've got, like any politician, there are things that I wish they would do differently, and you advocate for the things that you care about. You want more emphasis placed on various things, whatever. And it is your God-given right as an American to take that position, including with Trump or anybody. And the decent thing, the great thing about Trump is he listens to advice, and it doesn't matter from where it comes. He's not worried about what station you have, how much money you have, what kind of donor you are. If he gets a chance to speak to you, if you're standing there and you got a chance to talk to him, he wants to know what you think. How did I do? What did you like? What would you like to see? Trump's like that in a very unique way. Politicians are not like that in anywhere near as an authentic a way as Trump is. Trump's genuinely authentic when it comes to surveying the room, finding out what people think, and taking that advice. So insofar as Trump can be influenced by his voters, that's a great relationship, isn't it? But Tucker's answer is correct in so many ways, which is the alternative is complete disaster. Complete disaster. I was talking with some friends this morning about this, about the idea that, what's kind of like the doomsday scenario here is if Kamala Harris wins, if Democrats get meaningful margins in both the House and the Senate, if that all occurs, the thing that I'm really on guard for right now, packing the United States Supreme Court. If they can rig the final stop, the final barrier to their complete destruction of the Constitution, we're in very different territory, even than we are in right now. And that's why they are so aggressively trying to destroy it. As we speak, they're trying to destroy the credibility of the court. And destroying the credibility of the court is the predicate to claiming they have the solution to the problem that they invented to the public. And the solution, of course, is pack the court so that Democrats have permanent power and an endless ability to do whatever they want. The Constitution be damned. You think they're going to honor the Second Amendment when the court's packed? No. You think they'll honor the First Amendment? No. How likely is it that they're going to get to the point where they start imprisoning you for your views, well, above and beyond what they're already doing as they attack their political opponents for their First Amendment? It's going to get out of control. You're already seeing it happen in the United Kingdom. That's a preview of what the Democrats would like to make happen here. You shouldn't let them. Don't let them. So this is a big one. This is a really big election, and Tucker's right about the stakes here. Let's see. We also talked at some length about what so many Republicans are squeamish to talk about: abortion. They apparently it's difficult to talk about human sacrifice. We had a good conversation on it. I really enjoyed it, and I thought we hit on some really important issues.
Tell me what to make of, speaking of spiritual themes in our politics, the abortion lobby shows up at the DNC this week and sends with them a mobile vasectomy clinic. So you can get snipped if you want at the DNC. This at a time where the birth rate among native born Americans is like not way below replacement.
Definitely.
Not having babies.
Yeah.
Why would that be your priority?
It's a death cult. It's a total death cult. I mean, look, at the bottom of every one of these policies that they pitch and they sell you as like a good thing is human suffering. At the bottom of all of them.
Yes.
So a really good example of this is the climate stuff. So let's assume for a moment that all of their climate catastrophizing is correct.
Yes.
That it's our activity that's making the earth warmer. Okay. Well, it turns out that the warmer the planet is, the better it is for humans.
Right.
More humans survive in an environment where the earth is warmer. In fact, when the earth is colder, lots of people die. Lots of people die. And so, there's no challenge to that science whatsoever. It's totally clear. You know, if it's a matter of like sea level rise, all this other stuff, we have like amazing alert systems, hurricanes. The reason people don't die to hurricanes is because we have such a far out advance notice that they're coming. Our buildings are so much more durable. They never talk about death counts, by the way, when they talk about hurricanes and what they're doing and the climate change. Way fewer people die due to hurricanes now. It's never at its core about human flourishing, ever. So if it's not about human flourishing, it's about the opposite. It's about death. They're totally fine with it. In fact, they view us as a cancer on the earth, at least the radical left's so-called environmental movement. And the abortion thing, it's a death cult. It's all sort of like pagan tribal religions have had death rituals.
Of course, human sacrifice is the one constant. Yes.
On my radio show, I refer to this as human sacrifice all the time because that's what it is. And it's breaking yourself of the spell of using their terminology is such a challenging thing to do because it's like everywhere. It surrounds you. It's like every newspaper you read, every television show you watch, every social media post you consume, lots of them in the past. They use like the language of the left as it's shifting, as it's modifying. And if you don't use the language, you're censored. So it's mind control, as you know.
Yeah, and we just went on that. In fact, the conversation on the importance of life, it went on very long. I was getting into all the statistics, the way the left handles all of this, the ghoulishness around late-term abortions, just crazy stuff. But a lot packed in there. Okay, your calls ahead. I've got more audio from that, and also I still have to play for you some of the most hilarious moments from just today at the Democrat convention.
Hey. Great conversation you had with Tucker Carlson. I'm going to have to check out that whole thing.
Thank you.
Hey, the thing about Trump that differentiates him from what I'm starting to call, I haven't quite settled on a name yet, but the big Democrat or big left, like they are always after big pharma and big money, big, whatever. They're a cabal, and they all think alike. And so what differentiates Trump from them is that he doesn't believe he's smarter than us. They know in their core that they are more morally correct and more intelligent than we are, so that gives them the right to dictate our lives. Trump doesn't want to dictate our lives. He just wants to make the game a little bit more fair for everybody.
Trump does not have contempt for the voter. Trump does not have contempt for the voter. The left does. This is a fundamental distinction you're pointing out, Richard, and it's the reason Trump has succeeded. Have you noticed Trump does not attack the little guy? He never does, ever.
Right. He always punches at other power people.
Yeah, he punches back at people attack him, and he goes after the powerful, which is why the weapons that are used against him are the most intense weapons our institutions have, including the power of the judiciary. They're trying to throw him in jail now using the DOJ and all of these various Democrat prosecutors across the country. The effort to take him down is immense. It's very powerful. And Trump does not have contempt for the voter. And this is the fundamental distinction as to why Trump and Kamala communicate so differently. I like to mock Kamala as a dummy because I do think she's a dummy in a lot of ways. But here's if I'm being completely honest about her communication pattern, Richard, is the communication of a person who believes she is a lot smarter than the voters that she begrudgingly appeals to get their vote.
She's the kindergarten teacher talking to a bunch of children, and they got to explain it with their hands and the sing-song voice so that you understand that you'll see the moon with your own eyes.
Yes.
And it's disgusting. And Big Democrat, I'll just go with it, has always been about death and slavery. And they want us enslaved because we are so stupid. We don't know how to manage our own lives. You're going to walk around with these weapons of war killing each other. We got to stop you.
It's
because
patronizing.
We're morally sound that you are.
It's deeply patronizing. And the death thing, and I probably should have said this more clearly with Tucker, but it's about not allowing you to have meaningful human connection. If you have a healthy family on which you can rely, if you have a healthy church community on which you can rely, if you have some sense that there's a higher power on which you can rely, your dependency is not on these people. And that's what drives them crazy. So the more wedges and chaos they can drive into your life, the more they can try and justify their existence.
But that's Marxism. That's the heart of Marxism, is replacing the state, putting the state in every aspect of your life. So you don't have family, you don't have religion to look at. You just have the state.
You nailed it, Richard. Richard, thank you. You're right on all counts. Good to talk to you today. All right, coming up, there's some things happening right now. President Trump just slam dunked a reporter into the ground in Michigan, which is why I'm going to play that audio for you in a moment, as Kamala Harris's campaign is slandering an entire town in Michigan as racist. Notice they didn't say that about Chicago. All the anti-Semites are gathering there. No such attack. Hey, good afternoon to you. It is now 4:35, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, we got Congressman Scott Perry at 5 o'clock from the great state of Pennsylvania. This is an Army combat veteran. We're going to talk to him about how President Trump is doing in the Keystone State. And Michael Whatley, the chairman of the RNC, is here at 5:30. Lots of questions for him about how the election's going and how we can maintain its integrity. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. I want to get to what President Trump is up to today. President Trump just wrapped up some remarks a short while ago in Howell, Michigan. This is a part of his effort throughout the week to counter-program the Democrat convention by doing a whole bunch of rallies and speaking to a whole bunch of voters in battleground states and really try and keep his campaign on the map at such a pivotal time as Democrats are on all the networks with their convention. And leading up to his visit today in Howell, Michigan, the Kamala campaign decided to slander the entire town as racist. As racist. This is totally par for the course for the left. The New York Post has a summary of how this all happened. The Harris campaign, Whitmer, and the media tar the small Michigan town Trump's visiting Tuesday as racist. Ann Arbor, Michigan is the dateline. The Harris campaign, along with media allies, has made an extraordinary claim implying Donald Trump's Tuesday visit to discuss crime and safety in Howell, Michigan is motivated by racism. And Howell residents are mystified. Governor Gretchen Whitmer also denounced the former president's coming speech and suggested the city and the state that she represents is racist Monday at the Democrat convention, telling ABC, quote, anyone who's doing a little bit of research might have said, that's really a bad idea. Look at the optics. You're showing up where the KKK was just at the same time you're in Michigan, she says. The KKK, the historic Democrat organization. So Trump's going to Howell, Michigan, and he's responsible for the behavior of lunatics? What? And the whole city deserves to be slandered? That's their governor slandering the city. They say, the New York Post says around a dozen pallid young men dressed in black held a racist protest July 21st. In front of the Livingston County Courthouse, the motley crew held signs that read, White Lives Matter, and shouted through megaphones, we love Hitler, we love Trump. This is an op. These are, you remember, this happened in Virginia too. Remember when Democrats showed up and they were like, we're Nazis for Republicans, right? Weren't they doing it for Youngkin or something? Nazis for Youngkin. And it turns out they were a bunch of Democrats. They were Democrat political operatives, barely hiding it. What, I may be fuzzy on some of the details. The point is, this happens a lot. So I don't even believe this crap. But here they go. Whoa, it was happening in Howell, Michigan. So poor Howell, Michigan is now slandered as racist. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign thinks Trump's Tuesday event at the Livingston County Sheriff's Office in Howell, a city of 10,000 near Michigan's major population centers, is a sign of solidarity with these young men. No, they don't. They're just lying. That's what they're doing. Kamala Harris's Michigan spokeswoman, Alyssa Bradley, saying, quote, "The racists and white supremacists who marched in Trump's name last month in Howell have all watched him praise Hitler, false, defend neo-Nazis in Charlottesville, false, and tell far-right extremists to stand back and stand by, false." So the Kamala campaign lying again and again and again and again. Quote, "Trump's actions have encouraged them, and Michiganders can expect more of the same when he comes to town." They say a Washington Post article boosted this narrative. Quote, "Howell has long been associated with the Ku Klux Klan because of the rallies." Tell us more about the Ku Klux Klan, would you, Washington Post? "Because of the rallies Michigan-based Grand Dragon Robert Miles held on a nearby farm in the 1970s and 1980s. And Reuters headlined a piece, quote, "Trump to campaign in Michigan town with historic links to white extremism," which is historically a Democrat operation. Anonymous user Carl Stack, whoever that is, extensively edited Howell's Wikipedia page on August 17th, that's 3 days ago, to emphasize claims of racism after the announcement of Trump's event. So some lefty Orwellian jerk goes into Wikipedia the moment they find out Trump is visiting this town to meet with the sheriff to talk about public safety and slanders the community on the first result on Google. The Wikipedia page for Howell, Michigan. Slander written into it. And all changed up. The Livingston County Sheriff, Michael Murphy, who is hosting Trump, rejects any insinuation that a culture of racism attracted the Trump campaign. "I call 100% bull on that," he said. That was the sheriff. He told the New York Post, "It's bull hockey." "Frankly, I get a little bit fired up when people say that," he said. "We did have the Grand Dragon that lived here in Livingston County, but we somehow, as a result of that, got labeled with racist, unwelcoming community, which truly could not be further from the truth," said the sheriff. Commenting on last month's demonstration, Murphy said, quote, "I know that in the last month or so, we've had a couple of dip bleeps running around with a megaphone and spewing white supremacy crap. That's not our community," he said. "Those are outsiders." Oh, so even, see, the sheriff also suspects an op. Does he? See? Oh, Vincey boy is onto this. The sheriff of Howell, Michigan, is like, these are outsiders who just showed up out of nowhere. And they're scumbags, says the Michigan sheriff. The one who's hosting Trump, who, by the way, says that white supremacists and neo-Nazis are contemptible. That's Trump's position. Not featured at the DNC, where they lie about that. They lie about that. Okay, so Trump speaks today there, and he was asked about this. A reporter comes flying in and says, "Hey, Kamala Harris's campaign says you're being a racist by being here, and you're trying to appeal to white supremacists." Listen to Trump's response. Here's the natural sound. Here's the audio, including Trump's mic. Let's take a listen.
Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you for coming. Kamala Harris campaign attacking you for being in his town because they say there were white supremacists here a month ago.
So if you can't hear it very well, she said, any response to Kamala Harris's campaign attacking you for being in this town because they say there are white supremacists here that you're trying to appeal to.
They're Democrats.
Somebody, you hear that woman? Some woman goes, "They're Democrats." Good for her. She's so even before Trump responds, some other woman's mounting a defense.
Who was here in 2021? Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
So he goes, "Who was here in 2021?" And she goes, "Joe Biden." He goes, "Thank you." And he walks away. There's a mic drop moment. He didn't literally drop the microphone, but dropped the mic. There he is. So Trump walks away, just, classic Trump moment, and despicable behavior on the part of the left. As we speak, in Chicago, there are people who are rooting on the rape and murder of Jews outside of the convention space, and let's be honest, probably very much inside the convention space as the convention goes on. Has the Kamala Harris campaign condemned the city of Chicago as a racist place to be? Have they done that at all? Have we seen any statements to that effect? I don't think so. Russ is in Alexandria. He's on line 2. Russ, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Colonnade Show.
Hello, Vince. How are you today,
I'm
sir?
doing well. Thank you, Russ.
Yeah, no, the whole process is the only thing the Democrats have. They can't argue any objective fact on the field of ideas, and so they have to devolve into the 3 R's, which are race, Russia, and rich. And those are the things that they point at as being wrong or the cause of everyone else's, lot in life. And it's almost impossible for them to not continue to drag these things out election after election after election, and nobody is the wiser. They keep falling for it. It's just mind-boggling that this continues.
Yes.
And when you see Kamala Harris stand up and say, all of these things are horrible and I'm going to fix it, you're the cause.
I know.
And it just defies logic. And
So the town of Howell, Michigan, the town of Howell, Michigan, Russ, is a population of 10,000 people. And right now they're at the center of the political universe. Today they are, for 2 reasons. One, they've got a presidential candidate in town, Donald Trump, coming to meet, talk to the sheriff, talk about public safety, and how we can get America back on track. The other reason is that the left has decided, once again, this is kind of the theme of the hour as we talk about this, they're slandering the people who live there. They say they're racist.
They have to.
Yeah.
They have to, because Trump goes in to talk about an objective metric that can be proven. Crime is up. And the Democrats can't talk about the root cause, which are their policies of, releasing criminals back out onto the streets with nothing more than a wrist slap, if that.
Yeah.
And because they can't objectively talk about that, they have to make it about race.
Well, the other piece here is that they conceal the data. So there's we've seen a lot of headlines and a lot of claims. Oh, crime is down. In fact, I think didn't Biden himself, I think, in his speech last night, the one that they wrote for him, said something to that effect. Crime is down. Violent crime is way down. Here's, of course, the funny business that's at work. John Lott has talked about this with us quite frequently, and he's so good at looking at all of this. The crime reporting has plummeted. The actual arrests of criminal acts have plummeted. The actual prosecutions have plummeted. Meanwhile, the victimization surveys on this question, where they were self-report on what crimes they've been victimized by, they're skyrocketing. So there's a massive disconnect. Democrats stop enforcing and reporting the violations of the law, and meanwhile, the chaos is only escalating, Russ. So even in that way, even before we get to like making an admission like this, they're lying to you about the data.
Oh, absolutely, because if they objectively presented the data, then people are going to ask the question, well, what policies are you going to bring to the table that are going to address this tragedy that just continues to balloon out of proportion, beyond our ability to fix anything anymore. Yeah. And you're right. The underreporting, the non-reporting, the misreporting, as you started in the segment where you were, citing all of the things that were outright lies by the campaign, and nobody pulls up on the rein. Nobody calls these people to task. And I would really just hope that people finally at this point understand what is happening. It's not race. It's not Russia. It's not rich people. It is the Democratic left that is continuing to foment these problems, and we have to make it stop.
Yes, and slandering your fellow citizen, treating people they don't even know, who don't have any meaningful power, the people of Howell, Michigan, as garbage, and saying that they're racist and making them toxic, like literally distorting their Wikipedia page so that people think the town is racist. It's as vile as it can possibly be, and it's really important for the rest of us to call it out.
We're all deplorables.
Yeah.
Remember.
I keep hearing that. Russ, thank you very much. I appreciate the call. Russ in Alexandria. Let's see. Frank is calling in from Ashburn now, line 5. Frank, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hello, Vince. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for a great show and for loving America.
Thank you,
Just
Frank.
a question everybody should ask when you talk about the racists and the sexists and all the violence. When you saw the BLM stuff and you saw them surrounding the White House and the so-called Summer of Love and thereafter, just ask yourself one thing.
Yeah.
Do you think there was one Republican in that crowd? That's all you got to say. The answer is no. They were strictly all Democrats.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, which party is having segregated fundraisers? Do you recall?
Or segregation in college graduation.
Yeah,
That's a new one.
what about segregated events at their convention? They started their convention with segregated meetings. Are you familiar with which party that was?
Can I guess? Would it be the Democrats?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Frank, thank you. You're doing excellent work today. No, Frank is right about that. A lot of intolerance and bigotry going on the American left. Frank has correctly identified. All right, to the phones we go. We've got Susan calling in from Springfield now, line 2. Hey, Susan, you're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello.
Hey, Vince, can you hear me okay?
I hear you great, Susan. Go for it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for taking my calls. I enjoy your show. I listen to it, not religiously, but from time to time.
Thank you.
But I have to say that I find the hypocrisy so disgusting amongst the Republicans. And I know that everybody's like, policy, no policy from Kamala, blah, blah, blah. And then I happened to catch a little bit of Trump's press conference, which really wasn't a press conference, with all of his groceries laid out there. And when somebody had asked him, hey, so everybody's complaining, people, they don't have enough money to buy groceries and this and that, and what can you do to help lower the prices? And then he repeated the question, and he kind of hemmed and hawed, and he did a little tap dancing, and then finally the stable genius came up with, vote for me, and I will fix it. So that doesn't sound like policy to me, and I just wanted to have you make me feel better about this disgusting hypocrisy that I just continue to see amongst the Republicans.
So, Susan, before I get there, what's your favorite thing about my show?
Yeah. I feel like you're just really smart.
Oh, you flatter me.
No, really, like, you don't bug me. Like, that's, you don't bug me. And so that's why I listen, and I watch CNN, I watch Fox, because everybody does a lot of spinning. Everybody spins it. So I like to just sort of see what everybody's saying.
So tell me, Susan, just because we're tight on time, but I do want to try and answer your question as best I can, but I want to understand where you're coming from. I take it you voted for Biden.
Yes.
Okay. And then do you intend to vote for Kamala this year?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And were you in a better economic situation under Trump, or is everything better now for you under Biden?
Oh, my God, I have so much money in my 401k. I'm retiring, hopefully, in the next
Okay, so
year.
So you're one of the rare cases where it's been even better for you now, which is unusual. Here's the thing. On the Trump economic plan, whether it's no tax on tips, which, of course, Kamala is stealing, which is maybe it's the child tax credit, which, of course, now Kamala is trying to steal, whether it's stopping all of the government spending, which, of course, led to the inflation that jacked up the prices of those groceries you saw on the table, tackling that's a real economic plan. Trump's been talking about it a lot. I know you kind of dismissed out of hand Kamala's lack of details, but you should look at them more seriously. It's not going to go well for you. I know you're looking at the 401k right now, but I promise you the future does not look good for any of us under her. In the few plans she's given us, including those price controls on groceries, I would suggest taking a quick glance at how communist countries have handled that in the past. It doesn't usually go that well, it turns out.